What is up, everyone? Huxbucks here. Today, we're going to do a little educational, informational video. We're going to cover CJ Stroud, rookie card prices, and where can they go from here? Where will they go from here? Before we get into it, I do have a June giveaway going on. To enter, just be a subscriber, and on any June video, like that video, leave a comment. Every comment gets you one entry into the giveaway. Details are in the description below. So let's dive right into it. Let's take a look at what are CJ Stroud prices right now. What I really want to look at today is what are CJ's rookie card prices? How much room do they have to move up or down? And take a look at the long-term pricing on his cards, not the short-term. I don't want to talk about, I'm not covering the fluctuations because we're going to see a bump in his prices before the season and they'll dip down. We know that happens every year. I'm talking long-term. What is the likely outcome of Stroud's career? What is his career going to look like versus his card prices? So we're going to compare his prices to the top rookie quarterbacks of the last 6 years. We're going to look at pop counts and prices for those QBs in Prism Silver PSA 10s. And we're going to adjust their prices based on what I'm going to call pop count inflation. So for instance, if a quarterback's pop count is 1/10 of Stroud pop counts, we're going to adjust that quarterback's price by a dividend of 10. We're going to look at the pop count of those quarterbacks in their Prism Silvers, and we're going to adjust their prices based on what I'm going to call a pop count inflation. For instance, if said quarterback's pop count is 1/10 of Stroud's, we're going to adjust their price in a PSA 10 by a dividend of 10. I hope that makes sense. And that is to get an idea of, given equal pop counts, what that player's PSA 10 would be worth compared to Stroud. And that should hopefully tell us where Stroud is currently priced versus what those other quarterbacks' careers have been. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. And with every one of these quarterbacks, I want you to ask, what are Stroud's chances to have a career like him? So let's first start with Stroud prices. Right now, a Stroud PSA 10 last sold for $896. His raw sold for $326. We're really going to focus in on the PSA 10s because we can adjust that with pop counts. Currently, Stroud pop counts sit at 1,339 in PSA 10s. You're going to see why that is an amazing number in just a second. So we're going to work current to back. First up, we have Brock Purdy, whose PSA 10 count is 505. That is about half of Stroud's. Purdy, PSA 10, is selling for about $800, which is similar to Stroud. If we adjust Purdy's PSA 10 price for pop count inflation, Purdy sits at $400. So Stroud is priced to have a better career than Purdy. Keep in mind, Purdy has made it to a Super Bowl, and the 49ers are Super Bowl favorites for this year. We hop on over to Trevor Lawrence from 2021. This is where pop counts start to dip real heavy. As we know, T-Law, his Prism Silver was super hard to grade, a lot of QC issues. So his pop count is at 111. That is 1/10 of Stroud. Right now, T-Law's PSA 10 sits at 1.05K. If we adjust that, T-Law's PSA 10 price would be $100. T-Law is in a make-or-break year. He had big expectations coming to last year. He didn't quite live up. This is what happens when you don't live up to expectations. And T-Law is kind of staring right in the face at a kind of mid-tier starting quarterback situation. We're going to hop on over to Joey B. Joey B's pop count is 264, which is about a quarter of Stroud's. Burrow's PSA 10 last sale was 1.85K. If we adjust Burrow's PSA 10 price for inflation, that's $462. Stroud is priced to have a better career than Burrow. Next up is 2019 quarterback Kyler Murray. His PSA 10 pop count is 193. That's 1/5 of what Stroud's is at. That's actually less than 1/5. Spitball and math here, so don't, I'm being generous in every regard. Kyler's PSA 10 sell for $332. If I adjust that for pop count inflation, Murray's PSA 10 comparatively would be selling for $66. The story of Murray's career is solid years, good years, then suffered a serious injury, and now he's all but forgotten about. Hop on over to 2018. I didn't put Lamar in here. I'm just going with Josh Allen, and I'm going to be generous with Josh. Josh's pop count is an amazing 26 in PSA 10. 26, that's it. You don't have a lot of sales with PSA 10 Josh Allen rookie Prism Silvers. And I'm going to be generous because right now he has dipped to 3.6K. But I'm just going to be generous and go middle of last year before the season. I'm going to go at 7K here, kind of rounding between these two sales. So 7K for a Josh Allen PSA 10 Prism Silver rookie. If we adjust that for pop count, Allen's rookie card is, wait for it, $150. I know this is a little wonky. It sounds crazy, but pop count does matter. I can't say how much it matters, but this is the best way that a non-mathematician could come up with figuring out that. So Josh Allen compared to Stroud, PSA 10 Silver should cost $150. Josh Allen, a good all-pro QB, never made it to the Super Bowl. Say the Bills' Overton window has closed. Now the expectation is he's just never going to get back to vying for a Super Bowl. And last but not least is a possible GOAT. Patrick Mahomes, 2017. Prism Silver, PSA 10. There are 952, which is 25% less than Stroud's. His PSA 10 price is currently 4.2K. This is a man who has won 3 Super Bowls and will probably rack up a few more in the future. If we adjust Mahomes' pop count for inflation, Mahomes sits at 5.25K versus Stroud. So what do I take away from all this? That number one, obviously Stroud's pop counts are the highest of any QB on this list, and it will continue to grow as 2023 Prism is opened and more cards are submitted. I guarantee you there's silver prisms sitting on people's desks that they just haven't got around to submitting. So here's kind of like the possible scenarios that in my mind that I see for Stroud. Scenario 1. In the next few years, if the Texans are perennial Super Bowl contenders, and let's say they make a Super Bowl but they don't win, a la Purdy, Stroud's prices will drop. It's the path of Purdy and Burrow. Contenders, but they haven't won the big one. Scenario 2. If Stroud has an all-pro career but can't break through to a Super Bowl in what's looking like a very, very tough AFC, he's going to go down the road of Josh Allen, and his card prices will plummet. Scenario 3. If Stroud has a sophomore slump and follows up 2025 with a less than all-pro year, his card prices run the risk of hitting rock bottom. This is the T-loss scenario. Scenario 4. If Stroud puts up similar stats to his rookie year and at some point suffers a serious year-long injury, his cards are absolutely going to nosedive like Kyler Murray. Scenario 5. Stroud wins 1 Super Bowl. To me, if he wins 1 Super Bowl, he justifies his prices. Basically right now, 1 Super Bowl win is baked into Stroud's prices. For Stroud to see big gains, I think he has to win 2 Super Bowls. To see massive gains, Stroud's going to have to lead the Texans to becoming a dynasty. And they're going to have to win 3 or 4 Super Bowls, and he's going to have to go down as an all-time great. What's the more likely scenario? I want you to ask yourself. We have 4 comparisons that see a downward trend. 1 scenario that sustains his prices. 1 outcome that only 11 other QBs have done in the history of the NFL. And that's win 2 Super Bowls. And 1 chance at having a career only 5 other QBs in the entire history of the modern era have enjoyed. And that's win 3 Super Bowls. The best arguments you hear for Stroud right now is that he is in a select group of rookie QBs that won a playoff game as a rookie. It doesn't happen often. Here's the list. Brock Purdy, Russell Wilson, TJ Yates, Mark Sanchez, Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger, Sean King, Dieter Brook, and Pat Hayden. How many of those dudes are considered greats? The other argument you hear, and it's a good one, is that Stroud put up one of the best rookie QB seasons ever, on par with the likes of Dan Marino, Ben Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield, and Justin Herbert. How many of those dudes are on their way to becoming all-time greats? To me, the hobby wants so badly to find the next great thing. So much so that it puts blinders on. But how often do all-time greats come along? By definition, not very often. We never really bother to ask, what are the possible outcomes for a player? What are the likely scenarios? So that's just a little food for thought. So the question I want to ask right now, is CJ Stroud a good investment? What kind of career do you think Stroud's going to have? And I want to hear why. I'm interested to know your thought process behind when you say, I'm holding my CJ Stroud cards. What makes you say that? What makes you think you should hold Stroud cards? If it's for collecting, awesome. Collect that card. Keep it in your collection. Enjoy it. That's what card collecting is all about at the end of the day. But like it or not, part of this hobby is about value. We don't buy stuff because it's worthless. We want these things to have value. We pay big money for these things, for these little pieces of cardboard with dudes on them. It's logical to think about card values, and it should be logical to think out long-term what's going to happen with these. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd be interested to hear. I want to thank you guys for listening to me rant and rave. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and thank you for spending even just a minute of your time with me today. And until next time, peace.